Why do Americans act and talk on the internet as if everyone else knows the US as well as they do? Where are you from? Germany, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Minnesota. I don't think people necessarily assume US issues are global issues. I think they simply think most of the people on the internet are from the US. And the majority of the people they communicate with are from the US. The United States is so vast that most people from there only really talk to people from the US. Unlike people in Europe whose countries are similar in size to some of the larger states. It's more of an subconscious statistical assumption. It's called our US defaultism. Yeah, it's weird. Had this argument in Reddit about school shooting. And this person said gun laws and Second Amendment or STH is killing kids around the globe. I am like, dude. School shooting isn't an issue in most countries. Some Americans assume American issue is a global issue. It goes both ways. People ask questions all the time. Don't give their location. Then reply to Goodwill answers. I am not in the US. So people everywhere start with an assumption that the rest of the world acts like their home country. Short version. Lack of international relationships. Most Americans can't afford to leave the country. Sometimes not even their state. And when they do travel, the US is so massive and diverse they tend to go somewhere in the country anyway. And with the exception of those living in a handful of major cities, most Americans aren't in regular contact with people from other countries. Then the language barrier. Again, with the size of the US, one could drive for 5 hours and not even leave their own state. Whereas in other countries, you could have multiple neighboring countries, each a couple hours away, all with their own language. So we just don't have reminders around us that there are other countries. Around 50% of Reddit users are from USA, so that explains a lot on this site. Regards to many things. UK, Canada, Australia relate to each other's culturally. Not with gun laws but other things. Combined, those countries probably make up 75% or so of all Reddit users. It's easy to just assume who you're talking to is American, or gets US perspective on things. Many people in the US assume if you speak English you're American. Yes, I am aware that this is stupid on so many levels, including but not limited to the existence of England. I only act and talk that way on English language websites based in the US with a majority American user base, like Reddit. I don't talk or act that way on a Spanish language site based in South America with a Spanish speaking user base. Rico. I also don't talk or act that way on German language sites based in Germany with primarily German users. Jawal. My question to you is, why would you expect any different on an American website? Not to mention the local geography. They speak as if it's common knowledge to know where Virginia or South Dakota is located. No offense. Just a random state. As if it's common knowledge to know their state's particularities. Dude. Please. There are 738,583,475 other countries in the world. I can't go into tiny local details like that to each one of them. It probably comes from people who are not from US acting like they know everything about it on here. Why do y'all assume everything comes from a place of malicious intent or willful ignorance? Or some misplaced sense of superiority? As others have said, it's simply that statistically, Americans are the most likely people that you'll be interacting with on a platform like Reddit. So why would we feel the need to specify that we're talking to Americans or about American issues? If you see a question about an American political issue, for example, is it not obvious to you that it's directed toward Americans? It's not like we're expecting non-Americans to give their perspective. Not that that stops y'all from doing it anyway. You all seem to be experts in US politics as is. I mean, no one else has this behavior. Never read or saw a video of Europeans complaining Americans don't know about Europe. Lol. It's a combination of things. Time zones. Peak internet usage hours in the US won't match up with most of the world. Language. Just speaking English narrows down the range of people we communicate with greatly. Population. The US is huge compared to most other English-speaking places. All of that combined makes it statistically likely that most of the people I interact with online are also from the US. Failing that, culture. The US is so big that, unlike Europe, I will almost never see, meet, interact with people who aren't also American. If I live in Texas, I can spend an entire day straight driving and still be in Texas, surrounded by the same exact culture. As an American, you just get used to that. Because you are on an American platform with mostly Americans in it. Are you talking about Reddit? Almost 50% of users on Reddit are American. Seeing as US has the highest percentage of Reddit users, it is reasonable to post expecting mostly Americans to be reading. Also, American news and media is pretty prevalent globally. The intricacies and specifics are often not known, but the major events that dominate the news cycle in the USA are quite often known at least on a surface level throughout the world. It isn't being arrogant to assume that America has a larger global presence than most, if not all, other countries. Sure, you can say making that assumption while posting is silly. However, the assumption is often correct. You're on a US-based site built by a US-based company and wondering why people default to talking about the US? Well, if you're on an American platform, from an American company, talking and thinking from an American perspective, it's normal to assume everything is baseline American unless otherwise noted. I highly doubt an American would go on WeChat and do the same without giving context that it's an American question, since WeChat is assumed to be China baseline unless otherwise noted. My question is why non-US Redditors are so obsessed with the US. Like, why the hell would Americans asking about gun laws in America not be talking about America? What you are saying makes no sense. Should we only discuss topics that apply to your country or globally? How about if you have a different perspective, you just add to the conversation? Well, in my country, quote, but instead you whine about Americans on an American-based website discussing things relevant to them. I would say that it's most likely based on the natural human assumption that everyone is like you. Because the US has the largest representation on the internet, we are less often confronted with the fact that other people's experiences are different from our own. But I do notice a lot of people commenting on posts made by Americans about how they forgot how dystopian our employment, healthcare, etc. situation is. Add to it a special type of arrogance that is common in the US and you get the extremely loud Americans that make it look especially bad.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.